Alright kids, today we're going to talk about the Ouija board. First and foremost, I suggest never to use it. Ever. But you're not going to listen to me. You're going to use it anyway. So we're going to lay down some guidelines, rules that you should follow. This is all based on my experiences, so this isn't the give all end all rules that apply to everyone. You can use this thing however the fuck you feel like, but I have a lot of experience with this. I'd listen to me. First off, this is not a toy. Kids should never play with this, ever. Whoever marked this as a toy was an idiot. The planchet. This is a planchet. It goes on the board. Slides around. The letter inside this circle is the letter that's red, not the point. A lot of people mistake that and use the point. It's inside the circle. You can use this anywhere, but I highly suggest a couple places not to use it. One being a cemetery, mainly because there's hundreds, if not thousands, of dead people there. You're already going to have a hard time anywhere talking to anyone. And if you're in a cemetery, it's going to be pure chaos. You're not going to know who's coming and going. You're going to have 100,000 people answering you questions. You're just, it's pointless. It really is. But a lot of people like to do that because I think it's cliche, but it's up to you, whatever you think. Battlefields, such as Gettysburg, anywhere that hundreds of thousands of people were killed, is another place I wouldn't use it. Or say a mental hospital from the tuberculosis era, where hundreds of people died in the same place. Anywhere where hundreds of people died at the same place, I would advise not using the Ouija board, because you're just going to get bombarded and not know what's coming or going, who you're talking to. It's just going to be ridiculous. When you're first starting, set the mood. Contrary to some belief, you do not have to use this with the lights off. You can use it with the lights on. It works the same. It's spookier if you have the lights off, but if you don't want the lights off, or you're scared or nervous your first time, or whatever, you don't have to have the lights off. But other than that, set the mood. Light some incense, some candles. Another thing, regardless of your religion, now would be the time to wear your trinkets, your pentacles, your crosses, stars of David, regardless of your religion. This is a big one. Don't ever use this alone. Ever. Use this alone. A lot of people are going to argue with me about this one, but I highly suggest never use this alone, and even more so, don't ever use it at your own house, because whatever can come through, if it comes through and you fuck up and you leave the gate open, whatever comes through, good or bad, is going to be at your house. Before you start, cleanse the board. Cleanse yourself, cleanse the room, cleanse the planchet. When I mean cleanse, however you do your thing. If you are Christian and want to pray, pray. If you are a Wiccan, pagan, or anybody else, use sage, anything like that. Cleanse the room, cleanse the board, cleanse the planchet, cleanse yourself. When you go into this, make sure that you are not bringing any negative energy whatsoever. If you have a mental disorder, if you are severely depressed, or you're an addict, do not use the Ouija board no matter what. Any negative anything, the dark entities will feast upon, and you're a sitting duck. Like I said before, take this seriously. And whatever you do, never, ever, ever mock, whether it be dark, light, never, ever mock any of the entities or spirits. Never make light of it. Never make jokes. That's going for everyone that's playing, as well as the people around, if there's anybody watching. I highly suggest that on top of the people that are watching, you have one person to the side taking notes on a piece of paper, because sometimes the planchette can go fast and the letters will spell out fast, and someone will need to write it down so they can decipher it back to you so you'll know what it says. You should have one designated person to speak. It makes it easier if one person speaks. I mean, the other people can, whisper the questions to that person, but the person that announces it to the room, are there any spirits here? Any other questions like that. You should have one person speak. If you get no answers from that person, close the session, start again, and have somebody else go. Spirit might feel more comfortable talking to a male or female or something like that, or you never know. If you're not the person speaking, you should be concentrating, and your energy should be going towards the planchette. All of your thoughts should be in the moment. If you are trying to do this and your mind's wandering on somewhere else, this won't work. Keep concentrating on the task at hand and what you're doing. Keep in mind that you can close the session anytime that you want. You can restart the session as many times as you want. If you get uncomfortable, nervous, scared for any reason, there's something you don't like, you get an answer that scares you, or you're just confused or anything like that, all you have to do is say goodbye and you can start over. To start, everybody should have one finger from both hands on the planchette. Two fingers lightly touch, barely touch. When you first start, make 3 counterclockwise circles in the middle of the board, stop, then ask your first question. Make sure your questions are respectful. Like I said, don't mock, don't make light of it, don't joke. The simpler the questions, yes or no, the easier it is to get an answer. If you ask a whole complicated question or whatever, and they have to spell out a whole big answer, it's way harder. It takes a lot of energy for spirits to do this. They're using your energy on the planchette to move it. You're not using your energy to move your muscles to move it. They're using your energy that's touching the planchette to move it. Remember, once you ask the first question, after you made your 3 circles and stop, the door's open. Anything can talk to you. Keep that in mind. Here's a big one. A lot of people don't believe in this. I, for one, do. If an entity introduces himself as Zozo, if the planchette goes Z-O, 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 that is a dark entity named Zozo. Close your session immediately if you hear the name Zozo. There are questions to never ask. This one comes as a no-brainer, but people are idiots and they do fucking dumb shit. But never, ever, ever ask to be possessed. Don't even mention the word possession while you're doing this. Ever. Do not ask about illness, about the living, yourself, or loved ones. Do not talk about sickness if you can help it. It's a waste of time to ask about the future, because there's a very good chance that whoever you're speaking with is going to lie to you. And if you are talking to a good spirit, say the soul of your aunt or your grandmother or someone who's passed. How are they going to know? It's a waste of time to ask about the future. Another one, this is another big one. It's rude to ask how someone died. Say that you were in an old home and someone died in 1885 somehow, and they've been in this house this whole time, and you ask them how they died. A lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I think it's rude. But like I said, everything I'm saying to you, all of this is your call. This is another one should go without saying. Don't ask if the spirits are going to kill you. Here's another one. Never ask when you're going to die. One, I don't know why you wouldn't know that. Two, if you do get the right answer, correct answer, you're going to be terrified for the rest of your life until that day. 3 things can happen that are considered bad omens. If any of these 3 things happen, close your session immediately. 1, if the planchette goes and counts down numbers from 0, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, before it gets to 1, make sure you say goodbye. Close the session. Or the alphabet backwards. Close the session. If that happens, that's a bad omen. That means dark entities are trying to get through. 2, if the planchette in one session goes to all 4 corners of the board where there's little pictures and there's no letters or numbers, and they go all 4 corners of the board, before it gets to the 4th one, make sure you say goodbye. Don't let it get to the 4th corner. That's also a bad omen. It's also an indication something evil's trying to get through to you. The 3rd is if the planchette makes infinity symbols, figure 8s. If it continues to do this, if it does this more than a couple times, immediately go close your session. Remember, you can start over as many times as you want. This is the number 1 mistake that people make. Some people are going to disagree with me on this one, but it's not going to hurt if you do listen to me. For the people who disagree with me, I don't know why, but no matter what, do you take your hands off the planchette. If you have to scratch your nose, leave one hand on the planchette, no matter what. Until the session is closed, you say goodbye, then everyone can lift their hands off the planchette. But under no circumstance do you lose touch with the planchette. If you do, for lack of a better term, you're fucked. The door's open and you can't close it now. The best you can do is put your hand back on the planchette and I guess continue and hope no one noticed. But the worst thing you can do, the biggest mistake that everyone makes, is taking their hands off the planchette while they're in session. The other huge thing that people don't always do is say goodbye. If you don't say goodbye and you stop in the middle of playing, you leave the door open for whatever to come through. And believe me, it will. Whether you believe in this kind of stuff or not, entities, good or bad, dark or light, do not give a fuck if you believe or not. But yes, make sure that you close the session no matter what. Say goodbye. If it's quick because something was bad was happening or whatever, goodbye is good enough. But if it was a good session, I would suggest saying thank you and show your appreciation, because it's very hard for these spirits to speak with us through this board. It is not easy. That's why it doesn't always happen. That's why we don't get an answer immediately for every question. Lastly, to be extra safe, like whenever you cleanse the board, the planchette, yourself in the room, do it again at the end, just to cover your ass. There's no reason not to. It's just an extra step to make sure there's another layer of protection. Believe me. Like I said in the beginning, I highly suggest you never use this, because the amount of good you can get out of this is outweighed by the bad immensely. Yes, you might get to talk to Nana that passed away. You might get to talk to your Uncle Joey. But the bad things that can come through this board are so much worse than the little bit of good you can get coming from it. But people don't listen, and they do this wrong, and that's why I made this video, to maybe help a few people. Last thing, if bad things are happening, it's on you how you want to fix it. Go to your priest if you are Catholic or Christian. If you are Wiccan, get your coven, come in, cleanse the house. You know, however you want to do it, that's on you. But do never, ever, ever burn the board. If you burn the board, whatever is attached to the board, plus some, will be released. Never, ever burn the board. If you want to get rid of the board, you break it into pieces and bury each individual piece in a different part of the yard or wherever you're burying it, separate from the other pieces, and bury the planchette away from the board, far away. But never ever set the board on fire. So guys, thank you for sticking around to the end. Hopefully I informed you a little bit. Like I said, this is all my experiences. A lot of people that are into the occult and spirituality or whatever might not agree with everything I had to say, but I'm pretty sure they agree with most of it. Maybe a couple things I might find differently, but anyway, thank you guys for watching. Like and share and all that bullshit. I'll see you guys later. Rock, motherfucker.